Yeah, we don't
see
have
how-
it.
what I,
We don't really
if you
have anything
look
to do, Eric. It's cool.
if
Take
you
it.
look at my screen, so I can go like a brighter and not brighter. See that? I think that's kind of cool. Some of
Yeah,
the features that these guys are coming out with is kind of nice.
it's gonna be all kind of stuff coming up now.
Check your Facebook. We're live.
We are live.
Welcome to the 30-minute hour. It's the weekly podcast where we discuss business, sports, politics, and whatever's on our mind. I'm your host, Eric Twiggs, your procrastination prevention partner, and I'm the author of The Discipline of Now, 12 Practical Principles to Overcome Procrastination. Joining me as always is Ted Fells. He's the super CEO. He's the business strategist extraordinaire and all-around good guy.
Greetings, all.
All right. Britton Smith, the Renaissance man, the man who refuses to be pigeonholed, is not here. Right, Ted?
No, it's not over here, man. So
Is that over there with you? Okay.
yeah, but he knows what time, so he may pop in. Who knows?
He may pop in. We'll have to find out.
You know what's interesting about Britain though is with all this, lockdown we're supposed to be in, he's always somewhere other than in. It seems like.
So he's out somewhere. I'm sure he's got the mask and practicing social distancing and all that. He's just not on the podcast. That's
right. He's somewhere. He's somewhere gone. He's somewhere out getting food or other essential items. I'm sure.
Yep. So this is not your everyday podcast, and as you probably see, we've got a third square up on your screen. We're going to introduce this fine gentleman momentarily. He's really going to help us to prosper and thrive during the pandemic, but this is not your everyday podcast. You can find us on our website, the 30minutehourlive.net. You can go to our Facebook page and see us live every Monday at 7:00. Then there's Ted, there's this hot new show that I keep hearing about. It's getting a lot of buzz. It's Wednesdays at 6:00 Eastern time. It's called the 30-minute hour live on lockdown. Ted, have you heard anything about that show?
It's a great show, man. If you missed the first 2 weeks, man, you don't want to miss this week because we got some special things in store this week. So it's going to be a great show. So if you haven't seen it yet, check us out on Wednesday. If you've seen it already, please come back because it's going to be a great show on Wednesday. I may be a little biased.
Right. In our unbiased opinion, this is a great show. Make sure you bring a friend to the broadcast because this is that opportunity. Everybody's getting barraged with negativity, barraged with bad news. This is a place where you can go to unplug, unwind, and let your hair down. That's Wednesdays at 6:00 Eastern time, the 30-minute hour live on lockdown. Well, Ted, I've got something that's on my mind.
Please share, Eric. What's on your mind?
Please share. I have to get this off my chest. Okay. And it really relates to our guest because he can help us with this. And I was thinking, I had this experience that really made me think about this idea of how to prosper during a pandemic. Okay. That's the thought. How to prosper during a pandemic. So recently I'm speaking to these two business owners. One's named Frank, the other, his name is Sam. Now, their businesses are within 10 miles of each other. They have the same weather. They have, the customers have the same median income. And they have a similar percentage or the same percentage of patrons who are financially impacted by this pandemic. So first call I made, I was talking to Frank. Frank is struggling to make payroll. He's tapping lines of credit. He's laying people off, doing furloughs, just trying to stay afloat.
Yeah.
And when I'm talking to him, he's telling me all about COVID-19, its impact on the economy. He's telling me about the last broadcast of CNN he just watched, how it's a deep state conspiracy, and what do you think is going to happen in the future? That's what Frank's telling me all about. So the next call I had, I'm talking to Sam. And the pandemic never came up in our conversation. Never came up because he was too busy telling me how March was his best month ever in business. Again, they were both locked down. They both had all the essential, and their state was one of the first states to really lock everything down, like earlier in March. Sam's having his best month ever. Frank, not so much. So here's the big takeaway. Here's that point where you have to push pause on the treadmill. Here's that point where you need to go from the kitchen to the living room and sit down and really take this in. Here's the key. If we want to prosper during a pandemic, we can't allow our perceptions to interfere with the process. We can't allow our perceptions to interfere with the process. We have to just focus on the task at hand. And that'll help us to prosper during a pandemic. For example, so Sam, I was talking to him, I'm even like, how are you doing this, Sam? Everybody's crying the blues, but you're having this success. And it turns out Sam is a military veteran. And he's telling me about his military training where they would place him in a stressful and uncertain situation. And he was trained to focus on the task at hand. Like, do we know what business Sam was in? Like, was he in the toilet paper business though? I left that out. Yeah, he's right. He's in the toilet paper and hand sanitizer business.
That's right.
That's another topic.
That's right. Can
I continue?
Please.
Anything else you want to add before I?
Not a thing.
Okay, all right. I'm glad you injected that there, Ted. That makes it much better. But no, so he was trained in the military to focus on the task at hand, even in a stressful situation. So they would do a 20-mile run. He'd have a backpack on. He'd have his boots. But they were taught to only focus on the run. They didn't focus on what they were about to have for dinner. They didn't focus on what they were doing that night. They had to focus on the task at hand. That's like a military thing. It puts you in a place of uncertainty, and you develop this habit of just focusing your way through, focusing on the task at hand. So I'm saying all this to say, many of our followers, they either own a business or they lead a business, right? Ted, you're the super CEO. So our followers usually fall in one of those categories. Here's the key. Don't focus on the pandemic. Don't focus on panicking. Just focus on the task at hand. Which, if you have a business, the task at hand is providing that exceptional experience to the customer that's standing right in front of you, or that customer who's over the phone, or that customer who is virtual, who's looking at you on the screen, on your Zoom screen. Focus on the customer. Don't focus on all the what-if scenarios. Whew. That's it, Ted. That's my rant.
You made some great points there about being mission focused. I had a discussion with a colleague, team member, a couple of days ago, and we're talking about our goals that we were setting for the year. And she was saying, I think we should stick with with the goals that we have, not adjust them. And that, once all of this, we all, everything, the doors are open back up, then then everything is going to be good. Right. And I said, well, the thing is, though, is we don't know when that's going to happen. Right. So if we're going to stick to the goal we set, which I agree with, we need to have a strategy that deals with the just like in playing in cards, we got to deal with the deck that we're dealt right now. So as you said, is this going to, it's got to be in a situation where we're going to have to utilize, more virtual strategies, because we don't know if this could end next week or this could end 6 months from now. So if you're going to hit that goal, if the mission is to accomplish X by the end of this year, you have to do that, and take into account that the dynamics may or may not change.
Right. But the key is focusing on the mission, focusing on doing what you can do and not speculating and worrying about worst case scenarios and just inundating yourself with the news. It's focus on the mission. That's the key. And I know our guest is really going to help us with this, because people want to know. People are watching us right now. They want to know how to prosper during a pandemic, and we've got the right man for the job. So check this out, Ted. This is just incredible. He came to the U.S. from India in 1989 with $20 in his pocket, and didn't speak English. And today he's helped over 5,000 businesses. He's received a congressional honor, and he's run a successful financial planning business, and he's published an Amazon best-selling book. It's called Sell Like Crazy. And today he works he's a business consultant, and he's serving his community and helping business owners everywhere. So please join me in welcoming to the 30-Minute Hour podcast, Ash Shukla.
Thank you.
All right, man, it is an honor to have you on our podcast. And I remember when we had you on the Book Talk show. That's where we first met with Dr. Sharon H. Porter, and when you were just dynamic. And I just remember I had it in my mind, one day he will be a guest on the 30-Minute Hour podcast.
All right.
I'm glad that day is today.
Thank you.
So tell us about your journey. So 1989, you're in India and you've got $20 in your pocket. You come here. What inspired you to leave India?
So obviously, what inspired us is to a better opportunity, right? So, when you're going to a place like United States and you're looking at the wealthiest nation in the world, and you're going, okay, what are we going to do? And of course, opportunity is just so great here that it was just not a question. I mean, plus my aunt had applied for us to come here in 1981, and we didn't get the visas until 1989. So it takes time to legally come here. I mean, I know I look a little bit Mexican, but I'm not. I didn't cross the border. But I definitely cross the border with the legal papers and stuff like that, and it takes time, right? So, and I think that everybody, people who legally or illegally who cross the border, they're doing it for one reason only, is to seize the opportunity. And I think that many people don't realize how important that is to realize.
Yeah, so seizing the opportunities. It's interesting. I saw a study where they said that an immigrant that comes to our country is 4 times more likely to become a millionaire than an American citizen. I just thought that's interesting. Do you feel like sometimes we take the opportunities we have here for granted?
Yeah, most of the time.
Most of the time.
Yeah, I'm seeing that most people that I run across, they don't understand how good it is, and they're constantly focused on what's not happening versus what's actually happening, or what could be happening. And I see that all the time. Just like you guys were talking about a minute ago about pandemic, it's the same thing. People are focused on that when I mean, there are people who made a lot of money over last just week, 2 weeks, just because they know what they're doing.
Right. And I'm sure you have, I talked about the story of Sam and Frank. I'm sure you have examples like that where you're talking to one person, he is just killing it. Like if you talk to him, you wouldn't even know there was a pandemic.
Right.
But then you talk to the next person who's in the same neighborhood and the sky's falling.
Yeah, yeah, and yes, I do know a lot of people like that, and I think the part of the problem that I see is that is how you're trained to see things, right? Just when we came here, like when we landed here, and my story a little bit, so just so the viewers can understand, when we were coming here in '89, we never sat in a plane before. This was the first time a plane ride, so we got on the plane, we were excited. We smelled this amazing like perfume, in the plane and we are sitting, we are waiting for plane to take off. Doesn't take off until about 4.5 hours later because we were stuck on the runway at the Bombay International Airport. Finally, plane takes off. We get to London Heathrow Airport, and we didn't know what we were doing. I mean, we couldn't speak English, so when we were at that airport and we were looking at this and we were going, okay, now we are here, now what do we do? So we went to catch our next flight, and we learned that our flight was, flight had left, basically. And I wanted to go to as simple as going to restroom, right? I didn't know how to ask for a restroom, as simple as that. And I was walking by this door and it said restroom. So I thought, and everybody came out of that and they were so relaxed. I'm like, my God, like there must be a nice place in here.
Hey, it's a restroom,
right? Yeah, because
relax, absolutely.
Yeah, because
that's funny.
Because in India they call it bathroom, right? So that was a big problem. So, and plus I couldn't speak anything, so I couldn't really ask anybody either. So I go back to the ticket counter and I see my dad is struggling with the ticket counter lady. He's saying something, she doesn't get it. She's saying something, he doesn't get it. And when all this is happening, I walk up, I'm like, what's going on? But then some lady, Indian lady, walks up and she helps us understand that we have missed our connecting flight. And I think that there was a moment where we realized we're like, oh my God, like what are we going to do? It's just like almost like ground left us, right? So I think that being said, so after that, all that ends, like she helps us out, get vouchers, all these things. We go, now it's time to eat because we hadn't eaten anything. So first plane was delayed from India. Then we get to the London Heathrow Airport. Now we're completely lost. And now what we don't know, we have missed our flight. Now that's a news that we were not expecting. And then we didn't even know that could even happen because you could miss a bus from a bus station, but I didn't know you could miss a flight. So that was a problem. So then they get us the vouchers and we get into the hotel and all these things. We go downstairs to eat, and we couldn't understand, like, we didn't know what to order. Luckily, the lady comes up again, and she helps us get a spaghetti, a salad, and a bread roll. So I go for the salad. We had never had salad before. I'm like, I'm so hungry. I'm gonna go for this grass because I've never had this before, right? So I go for the grass. It was horrible. Then I go for spaghetti. It was plain noodles, like it was like literally boiled noodles, right? And this is 1989, September 4th, and it's like being vegetarian at the London Heathrow Airport in 1989. Like there is just no word for it. The good luck is the only two words I can think about. And then I go for the bread, and bread was a soup roll, and I couldn't bite it, and we went to bed hungry. And then we finally came here, and I think what I find is that when you so the not only the fact that my dad had sold everything back home, right, to be here because he bought tickets for that. He could have bought a home, like he was a government worker. I come from middle upper class family, and but like he could have bought a home back then. That home would have been worth millions right now. But instead of that, he had a choice to make: either buy the home or buy the tickets to come here. And I think it's that perception, right? It's a perception of, okay, it's a journey. And a lot of times I find that people who are scared, and I tell you the story because you have to, like, people who are scared, and they're stuck at the airport and they choose not to translate differently in their mind. They choose to translate that they're stuck at the airport. they choose to translate that they will never make it to their destination, versus saying, okay, how can I get help to move on to the next level? And I think that's usually the differentiator from looking at a different lens, right? And that means, that yes, there's going to be struggles and hardships, but I think it's important to take a look at everything from a different perspective.
Yeah,
And
that's a great point.
Yeah, that's the way I take it.
Yeah, and it's all about the stories you tell yourself. Two people can see the same thing, but they're saying different things and they're getting different results.
Yeah.
So how long did it take you to overcome the language barrier? How long did it take you to learn English to the point where you could have a conversation with someone?
Well, so a little bit, a while, because I got admitted into English as a second language. I was a senior back home in high school. I was held back 1 year because of English barriers. They held me as a junior. So I remember, like, my first day in school. I went to school, and in India, schools have two floors, top floor and a bottom floor, and it's usually just straight. And there's like one set of stairs that goes up, and the same set of stairs that comes down, and that's the end of school. Like, it's literally straight up, right, up and down, straight. And in India, we had teachers would come to your class instead of you going to the teacher's class, right? So there was a lot of differences. So me and my brother, here we are in a school, and all of a sudden bell rings. So we're just sitting there, hoping for the student teachers to come back. They're like, no, you gotta run. And we didn't understand what they were saying. So we are like, okay, everybody's running, let's just start running. So we're running across the halls, trying to figure things out. We don't know what's going on, and it's difficult because, like, what do? You can't really ask anybody because nobody understood what you were saying. You didn't understand them
Wow.
either,
Wow.
right? So that made it really difficult for us, and it took us a while, actually. I was working at a gas station and stuff like that, other in the jobs. And I think that's where I picked up good part of English, honestly. It wasn't necessarily the school, it was more of the practical experience, like diving in, because I was the first one to get a job at a gas station. Well, first at Little Caesars Pizza, where I messed up an order, which the manager should not have given me the phone, but he gave me the phone anyways. And that turned out to be a fun experience. But then then I went to work for a gas station, worked there for a little bit, and that's what I picked up. So it took me about 2 years, maybe three, to at least come to a point where I can say, okay, now I at least get it, you know. So it wasn't easy. It's not easy. It never is. I mean, it's a brand new language.
Yeah, so for those of you that are watching us right now or that will be listening to us, let's put this into perspective. I challenge you to go to France with $20 in your pocket, not being able to speak the language, and let's see if you can start a business. I mean, that is just, that really should put that into perspective, to go somewhere not knowing the language, not having the resources, and still to be able to thrive. So I'm curious, Ash, if you could go back in time, you could go back to that time with what you know now, what advice would you give to yourself?
I would go faster, harder. Think bigger. I would go faster, harder. I would make more mistakes than I have, in the past. Much faster, though. At a speed that unimaginable speed, much faster.
Wow.
And I would probably cut down time, like in terms of perspective of time is concerned. I think that would be the main thing. And by the way, those of you who are watching, you like it so far, give us a little bit of like, some love. Would love some comments. If somebody has questions, would be happy to answer. Those of you who are here and watching us would love to get to know you a little bit.
All right. Yeah, we're on the 30-minute hour podcast. We're broadcasting live. It's not your everyday podcast. We're getting live comments now. I see Becky Baldwin. She's on with us. She says that perspective matters. I see my man F. William Samuels is watching us. My fraternity brother who was on the live show with us last week. Shout out to Ben, Kelly Bird. So yeah, we're getting quite a few people that are watching and responding. But yeah, like Ash said, please please share your comments. And hey, even if you have some questions you want us to answer for you, please do that. So how has this pandemic changed how you're doing business, Ash? How has this changed things for you?
So for me, so my business has gone up drastically. I'm getting bigger clients. My clients are getting a lot of success. And in terms of like my business is concerned, I mean, I am like, I'm doing Zoom all the time, so I feel like a fish at times, you know. I now know exactly how fish feels. So when I go to aquarium next time, I'll know. I'll be able to talk and communicate with fish language. That'll be my language, okay? Or I might create my own language, a fish language or something, But I think that pandemic has. I mean, I get tired, because I'm on the sometimes I'm on Zooms 10, 12 hours a day. So it does take a toll. But overall, the business has increased. I really don't have a lot of stress issues, but I do get tired. So like I've learned how to take breaks, like from Zoom chats. Right, that it's helping me manage. Like I've been working out, in the evenings because I like working out in the evenings just so deliberately, just so that I can get away from the screen. And I think these are some of the things that I'm seeing a change. I mean, I would love to see what other people are seeing on Facebook. What are they experiencing? This is some of the stuff that I'm experiencing, but I would love to see what they're experiencing, because at the end of the day, I think it's crucial, it's important that we take care of ourselves. But as far as business is concerned, I think that if people take the right approach, this is the time to hit it hard.
Mm.
I think that people take on too much uh, hoopla from other people about, oh my God, like the world is good, the sky is gonna fall, or something like that. The sky is not falling. Like you still float in the universe. Whether you're on Earth, you're still floating, in the universe, and the Earth will continue to spin at 100,000 miles per hour. That's not a question. It's just questioning of, are you spinning with it, or are you trying to go against it?
Well, one of the biggest things I think that people have issues with is change, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, we're used to doing things the way that we do it. Right? We're used to getting in the car, driving through traffic, going into the office, being able to go over to Sue's desk, Joe's desk, go up to the whiteboard, pull people together, have a conversation over coffee. I mean, that's what we're used to doing. We're used to going to a restaurant and having a seat at our favorite place with a bunch of people. These are things we're used to, and now the rug has been pulled from up under us. And now the thing is okay, well, what are we going to do now in this situation? Like these are the cards that we're dealt right now, right?
Yeah.
Everyone wants to know, when is the switch going to be flipped back to normal, right? And that's what everyone is waiting for, just to switch to flip back to normal, and then I can go back to doing it the way that I've always done it. And we have to be able to. I think we're in a situation very similar to the situation that you were in when you came to the country, right? We feel like a fish out of water. We're here. We don't have a good understanding of how we're going to do. Absolutely. I won't do that face, but yeah, that face you're doing right there. But that's the situation that all of us are in right now. And
Go ahead, Tyron, try it. You should try that face.
no, not gonna do it. Well, I'll do it when I put my mask on. Maybe
No, do it. Let's see, all three of us do it. That would be a Facebook Live that nobody has done it. I promise you that.
Go ahead, Eric. Let me see you do it, Eric.
Okay.
Now, I'm afraid if I do it, we'll lose followers, subscribers, and everything else. So
I promise you'll gain followers if you do that. I promise you that.
I'll be like, man, I didn't know there was a dislike button. I just found that out. Hey.
That's right. That's right. That's right.
But you mentioned, Ash, that I mean your business is up. Your things are improving for you. So I'm curious, and you kind of touched on this, but what are some simple steps that some of our followers can take that are business owners, business leaders? What can they do to thrive during this pandemic season?
I think the number one, so there, I always take a look at a simplistic approach. Stop being fancy. People are like now this camera stuff going on, like there's people trying to be fancy. What I found is that simplicity always drives more business.
Yeah.
Complexity always takes away the business. So the simpler you keep things, the better. The more real you keep things, the better.
Yeah.
I mean, like as silly as that sounds, right? Like thankfully we have this technology right now, Eric. Like if you don't understand, when I started in 1994 in the financial planning world, right? In the financial world, back in the day, I didn't have this luxury of like sitting in front of the computer, and like I was actually knocking on doors, calling all my relatives, all my Indian people around in Maryland area, and I was trying to present my products and services. Like it took me hours and hours and hours, and I got no's for 6 years. Like that was the reality, right? So I think in today's world, if you keep things simple today, like just be, present as many places as you can. Stop being fancy. Like I'm in my t-shirt today, right? We were having this conversation earlier, Eric, right? That we're talking about like what should I wear. I mean, I've considered. I used to be in suits for 26 years. That was my life. If you see all of my videos, every single one, if you type in my name on Google and you see all of my videos, you will see me in nothing but suits. Like I was never out of a suit, right? And what I'm finding is that the more relaxed I am, the more who I am, and I'm presenting myself that way, the more business I'm getting. So simplicity is the key. So the more simpler you are, the more authentic you are, the more presentable you are. The more people attract you. That's number one. Number two, what I'm finding is that you know you have to be willing to be out there. Like just figure out your flow, whatever that flow is. Some people like to do Facebook lives, and some people and then get into some sort of a funnel, right? Some people thrive on doing ads, some people thrive on doing LinkedIn, some people thrive. Just figure out your flow, whatever that is. Doesn't have to be my flow or some. Stop figuring out everybody else's flow. Doesn't matter what other person's flow is. Energetically, you have to ask yourself, what is your flow? Like we have so I've been working on somebody who is listening to your show right now, and we found their flow, and now they are clicking, right? So what I'm saying is, like, they're clicking. They're my client, and they're now clicking. If they say yes in the comment box, I will mention their name, okay? But but that being said, you know um you have to find your flow. Like keep it simple and find your flow. Like once you do that piece, right, and you keep it consistent. So the last bit is, make sure it is consistent, whatever it is. Don't look at the media, don't look at the negative news, don't worry about everybody who is not doing it. Like I've had people who tell me that they have reduced their prices. My prices, like for consulting with me, has almost tripled.
Wow.
Like, so
you tripled your price during this
time. Right? I mean, like, so if you really think about it, right, it's maybe you're not conversating correctly, maybe your sales process is not correct, maybe your something is off, right? So figure that out and just fix that. And I think that try to take small steps. Don't be hypnotized by all this hype, in that, oh my god, you can make big leaps. No, just be where you are and take the next step. And whatever the next step is, the simpler it is, the better. If you don't have money, no problem, start with just doing something simple like Facebook live, right? If you don't have money, no problem, start connecting on LinkedIn, no problem, right? If you don't have money, no problem, just go on your Chambers of Commerce website and figure out who is your ideal client, and just start calling them and say, hey, my name is so and so, I'm just reaching out to you because I'm belonging to this chamber and I see you do too. Is there any way we can set up a time to talk? Like you can literally text them or send them an email, something, really do something for free. Like if that, start your flow, whatever that flow is, but don't worry about other people's flow.
Mm.
Don't let other people mess up your flow. And I think that's that these are the three most important things that I'm doing or I have done in the past that keeps things going. I mean, that just keeps it going, right? And eventually you come to a point where you're finding that little what is it, little thing I could, right? Like whatever that is, right? So I think that if you like literally engine that I could, right, that and something like that. But anyways, my English is my fourth language, so half the times I mess
The
things
little
up. Okay.
engine, the little engine that could. Eric,
Yeah, that.
help him out. Eric, help him out. You knew what he was saying. You just let
Yeah,
him.
so that right. So and I think that the we have just have to stop, like if you do simple things like that, three simple things, literally, be who you are, my friends. Don't change that.
Yeah, that's
Stop being
great.
somebody else,
That's great. So you mentioned the thing about flow. I want to dig into that a little bit. Is
Sure.
there anything specific that people can steps? What steps can people take to really find their specific flow?
That's a great question. Very good question. Okay. So what I find people making mistake on, or business owners and entrepreneurs especially, because we are trying to grow our businesses, right? So we are ambitious. We are looking for opportunities. We are looking to grow our businesses. This is how we make money. If we don't have income, cash flow, we have a problem, right? So what I find is that they will see trainings and webinars and blah blah blah, and then they go into little rabbit holes, like a little tangents, right? I have a client, and that so this particular client of mine in the past, uh, they, they kept on going into this rabbit hole. They kept on trying to do somebody else's way of doing something. So I think to find, so I was talking to them. Now, in this case, I could not, for whatever reason, make it work, because they were not willing to put in the work. And they kept on going into these rabbit holes. And I kept on saying, don't do that, don't do that, don't do that. And eventually I had to, let's just say, say, okay, we need to put a pause on this.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And then we came back, and to find the flow, like find this person's flow. One of the things that I always do with people is write down what type of people, who have you attracted in the past. So if you write that down, like for instance, who you get along with most, like some people will say, well, I get along with XYZ type of, I get along with 50 plus community. I get along with, and naturally speaking, not something you're trying to make, right? Not something you're trying to do because it's a profitable thing, but naturally speaking, who do you get along with most? That's the first question. The second question you should ask yourself is, okay, if I get along with this person, this type of people most, no problem. So then what you should do is you should really think about, which platform are you most comfortable with, meaning, what energetically attracts it. If you go back to your past, if you've tried out two or three different platforms, you know which platform is good for you, like energetically speaking. I mean, like whether, whether it's Facebook is good for you, whether it's Facebook ads are good for you, whether it's whether it's something else, whatever that is, right? So second thing is, make sure you go with the platform that you feel completely comfortable with to target that audience. And then you go about your strategies on how you're going to reach the targeted audience that you get along with naturally, that you attract naturally towards you. So like, so that's the way I would find my flow if I was you. Like I would really look at, like, yes, you can take. So one of the things you can do is, if you really are not sure, you can go find somebody who is just like you in business, exactly like you, like personality wise, they'll really resonate with you, and see what they are doing. And if you copy that, more than likely you'll find your flow there. So
Mm.
these are a couple of things you can do to, if you do the exercise, you find your flow. And if you still cannot find it, just go look for somebody who is exactly like you. I mean, copycat. Like I tried to be Deepak Chopra, I couldn't be. I mean, I'm just being honest. Like, and I couldn't talk like him. I literally tried. I'm not kidding. I tried. I'm like, okay, I look like his brother almost. So I said, I'm going to try, right? So I actually tried. I sat down and I said, I'm going to do, some things just like him. So I looked at his speech, methodologies and tried to speak like him. I tried to read few things just like him. I couldn't do it. I'm like, there was no way on planet Earth I'm doing that. I couldn't do it.
But I
So
think it's a process to find your flow, right? So, initially we start out trying to, like you said, Deepak, we try to emulate someone that we admire and
yeah,
we try to talk like them and do it doesn't work. And then over time, when you go through the process, you start to figure out your own voice.
yeah, yeah.
And that's when success happens.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely, absolutely. Yeah,
Okay.
But there's definitely no reason to reinvent the wheel sometimes. I know when I first started, I went and I met with several business owners that had reached the levels that I wanted to reach, and just asked them how they got started. And one thing that I've realized about people, if you can get on their calendar, people like to talk about themselves, right? Right. So if you can get on their calendar and just get them to talk, and you just take some notes, you're going to get some good points from them. And then you come back, and if you've looked at 2 or 3 different people, and you're going to probably see some common themes, and just how they operate, how they conduct their day, like how they go about what they do. The great thing about this show is Eric and I have an opportunity to do this every week, right? Where we get guests that come on, and we get an opportunity to hear, how people go about their day and how they started. And there's some common themes in most of our guests and how they operate. Eric, we still have yet to find that person that wakes up about 11:30 and starts their day. Like usually everybody's starting early in the morning, and they kind of have a routine that's somewhat consistent across the board.
Yeah, I mean, they're intentional, but I do think that can cut. I tell you make a great point. I mean, you can really cut your learning curve by finding someone who has the results and just really spending time with them, and they'll be glad to tell you everything they did in most cases. So Ash, you are the author of the best-selling book Sell Like Crazy, and before we get into the details of the book, you have to share the backstory of what happened after you got your book from your editor. Can you please share that with us?
yeah. So I had decided to write this book. I was doing a speaking engagements. I was a keynote speaker for all small business development centers in Maryland, and then I was a keynote speaker for Congressman Cummings and a few other congressmen. So what happened during this time was I said, okay, I'm talking to all these business owners. So what else can I do to really help them out? So I decided to write a book, and I was throwing around a concept I had was like entrepreneurs and small businesses in mind. So I said, okay, I'm going to write this book. So for about few months, I just kind of kept on running it by people and figure out what type of chapters to write. So then one day I finally decided, and I took a week to literally write the book. So I wrote the book, and I thought it was perfect. Like I really thought it's a perfect book because I wrote it in like one week, finished out like 100 plus page, 130 pages or so. And I'm like, now what do I do, right? So this is the book right here, right? So I wrote this book, and what I did was I wrote this book Sell Like Crazy, and I'm like, okay, now I finished the book. I know how to publish it. So I mean, I shared it to an editor. I sent it to an editor, and I said, look, I want you to edit this for me, right? So editor looks at it, they edit it for me, and I get it back. And when I got it back, I didn't think I can't understand what's wrong, what's right. I thought everything is right, so I just took it to Amazon. Back in the day, it used to be something else. I forgot the name now, but I literally went there and I published it. Well, and we sold like 5,000 copies, and we made it Amazon bestseller in like 3 days, and so all that stuff really happened, and I thought it was great. I was really happy. I'm like, wow, this is fantastic. Okay, so obviously with help of few friends, we made it that way, and then long and behold, like somebody got hold of it. One of my friend, few of my friends got hold of it, obviously, and they read it, and they're like, Ash, it's a great book, but it has grammars and spelling errors all over the place. I'm like, what do you mean? I normally I normally know I make the mistakes, and I don't, like, I don't really bother, because I don't understand what's right and what's wrong. I think it's all correct. So I sometimes I say to people, that's how I copyright all my material. Is I keep making mistakes in every single sentence. Like there's always at least 4 or 5 mistakes in there. So that being said, I issued the book, got it published, made it Amazon bestseller, and then I found out it was something was wrong. Not something, everything was wrong, inside the book. And then I finally give it to somebody else to fix it. But yeah, that's how the starting point was for that book.
But that's very interesting. So you said over 5,000 copies were sold, but it was full of errors.
Oh, 100%.
But that just showed that still people could understand what you were saying. So it was really more about the content than the grammar and then spelling. They could really feel what you were saying. What can you share from the book? I know we'd like people to buy the book, but what are some of the things that you could share from the book?
So the book itself, I mean, as I'm looking at this book, right? So when I take a look at the book, so book itself it's my journey, right? So on how I struggled in the financial business, right? So first 6 years I couldn't close a deal. And I mean, I feel, many people who are struggling, I understand completely, right? So when it comes to struggling, I get it. Like, you go to appointments or you talk to people and you just can't seem to figure out a way to come to conclusion.
Sure.
Right. So I spent over about 200 grand in self-help, in the early careers of my early stage of my life, starting at 21. And one of the things I wrote about in this book is how do you take it from, so I wrote about like, how do you prospect, like, how I have prospected in the past that hasn't worked, and how I prospect and how it has worked. Like one of the techniques I shared is, during my financial career in about 2004, when I started my own company. Before that I was with several banks, but so I started my own company. And in about 2008, so 2004 to 2008, I was doing a lot of traditional marketing. But in '08, what I ended up doing is I ended up switching my gears, and I took a little trash can, and in the I wrote a little letter, and I said, I knew you would throw it away, so I did it for you, your local financial advisor. And I put it in the trash can, and I did a local mailing with that, right? So ideas like that are in little gems that I wrote is inside of this book. Now that particular trash can idea generated over $7 million in business, and it did little what do you call this, I spent, like, I don't know, a couple $100 on it, so it wasn't a whole lot of money spent, but I did a lot of business. But the uniqueness of that idea is what drove the business, right? So, like somebody I was talking to like a couple of hours ago, they're in the financial business. Now I'm consulting with them. So they said, what was your late, how much did you spend in latter part when you were all successful, when you had everything you needed? I said, I spent $100 for the year for marketing, and I did X in business. And I think that these are the kind of tips and tidbits I've shared in here, but more in a story format, so it's easily understood, right? So from a perspective of like understanding, and I think the most important thing I've shared in this book is my sales process, because I was so frustrated. I would go on appointment after appointment after appointment, I would present, but it would never come to a conclusion. Right, it would never come to a fruition. So like first 6 years of my career, like I would go, and my career path was unique because I couldn't speak English. I mean, I could hardly understand it at that point. And now I had to take this insurance exam. That was my first thing I had to take, right? I went on exam 8 times to pass it, right? Then I went on investment exam 4, 5, 6 times, right? So to pass it. So in between, I'm going on all these appointments, and I go home and my dad is like, so how did you do today? I'm like, fantastic. Like, I was all excited. And so how much money you made, son? I said, fantastic.
Fantastic amount of money.
Yeah, that was, but because like I would do the presentation, and it just wasn't coming to fruition. So it got to a point where I was figuring out my flow. in that too, but I figured out a way to close deals. But in latter part of my I figured it out where I was closing about 400% higher transactions than
Mm.
industry average. My average, like a live case in the industry, is around $1,000. My average live case was around between 10 to 25,000. Right.
Mm.
When you take out investments, where average investment in the industry wide is about 30 to 40 grand, per person, my average investment was 300,000 to half million and more. So
Mm.
it was just a different, so what I wrote in this book is about my flow as to how to really, take your conversation, a simple conversation to a close.
Mm.
Whether it's from a networking to a close, or whether it's from a conversation to a close, right? And how do you up that ante, where you go from a 10-20% closing to 90% or more in closing in a proper way, not this itty bitty transactions. I'm talking about big transactions, right?
Mm.
I'm talking sizable transactions where you can feel like, okay, few months down the road, I've taught these same formulas to business owners, across the country and even internationally, and it just works, honestly.
I'm
So
sure.
that's what I wrote about this in this book. I hope that helps.
No,
Yeah.
that's awesome. So, and I'm sure you've got a couple testimonials of people that were struggling. They read your book, and now their business is at another level.
Yes, of course, I do. So if they go to my site, they'll see all that.
Okay.
Ashshukla.com or
AshShukla.com.
Yep, ashshukla.com. And if you can't remember that, just type in ashishcash.com.
AshIsCash.com.
.com.
You were
And it'll
pretty
take you.
you were pretty smooth with that, how you did that, Ash. It's like, yeah, ashwithcash.com. Just Google that now.
Yeah, ashishcash.com.
That's cool.
Yeah. So either way, okay. Yeah.
And then I know you've got congressional recognition.
Yeah.
Can you share with our followers the details as far as how that came about? And
Yeah. So in the time of about 2008, when I had decided to do speaking engagements, and I said, okay, I wanted to really make an impact into the business world, so I became a keynote speaker for all small business development centers. And one time I was speaking for a congressman, and he really loved my story, but more importantly, he loved the fact that I was serving small business in the right way, basically in a most authentic way. It wasn't, I didn't become a fish back then, but I did become something else. So I was very authentic in my presentation. I was very giving, because I taught people how to go from zero to building a multi-million-dollar business. That was my topic. So I taught them exactly how I took my business from zero to 7 figures. So basically that's what I talked about. And he loved the fact that how much I shared. And because of my giving nature and what I did for the community, congressman actually took the US flag, flew it over country's capital, and sent it to me as a special thanks for serving the small business, or businesses for that matter.
that's awesome. I mean, that just speaks to the value that you've added to the lives of these business owners.
Yeah.
So that's fantastic. Fantastic.
Yeah.
So how can I'm sorry, Terry, you about to say something?
Yeah, I was just looking at some of the comments that have come through from our viewers, and there was a question from a Becky Baldwin.
Yep.
She says, as a consultant, what lessons would a client learn from going faster and harder instead of slower and cautiously?
So as a consultant, if you have the right guidance and you go faster and harder, you're going to go that much further faster. Okay. If you are you don't want to be going faster and harder like a bumblebee, where you're going against the window, right, all the time either, right? So you need to, if you go faster and harder though, then other people, if you will, who you may or may not know the direction, and you may or may not be able to afford the direction, the pricing of the direction. But if you go faster and harder, you are more likely to figure out a way to get around the window much faster. right? So that's why that's what I would recommend, is that as a consultant, you should, number one, if you can, take some help, proper help, not just help but proper help. Look for somebody who is actually has done it in the past, or has walked the path you really want to go on. But more importantly, look for somebody who is uh, walking in alignment with who you are as a person,
Mm.
who is energetically aligning with you. And if you find that person, then follow that path, and it'll get you faster. And by going faster and harder, you'll go much further
Mm.
in that way, right? Or find a path. It doesn't have to be you have to hire somebody, but just go find a path that really works for you. you know but go fast. Like, don't, once you find it, like, run. Until then, you can go cautiously. That's okay. There's nothing wrong with being cautious, but at the same time, know that both of the irony of the problem is they both have a price,
Mm.
right? So, price of time and money, they both have a price. What I find is, people, when you're in indecisive state, right? When you're in indecisive state and you stay there for too long, right, what happens is you cost yourself money. Now, I don't know if you knew this or not. In my new book coming out, called Financial Chakras. So in this book, one of the things I wrote about in this book, in Financial Chakras, so those of you who don't know what chakras are, these are energy centers in your body. There are seven main energy centers in your body. So you actually are one of you are aligned or out of alignment based on that. Okay, no matter who you are. This is Vedic science, written up in 2000 plus BC, right? So based on that, when you are really looking at who you are, right, you really have to find who you are, internally, and you just have to run with it. Like, because what I found is that there's a path that I'm revealing in my book, that's going to come out soon. But one of the things I wrote about in the book is your worth. So I found is that, what is your human potential in dollars? How do you measure that? And what I found is, human potential in today's world, in right now, do you know the most richest person in the world? He's going to have 5 gazillion dollars.
Mm.
He's the worth of your worth right now is
Mm.
that. Now the question is, what does that really mean in dollars? So in every second you live, your maximum potential, as of today, I'm not saying this is ultimate potential, but I'm saying as of right now, if you were to measure your potential in dollars, you are worth, no less than 2,434 dollars per second.
Mm.
So based on actual stats on what is this person make right now in actual dollars. This, if the richest person in the world or the wealthiest person in the world is making that much per second, that means you too can make it,
Mm.
right? So that's based on that math. Now, if you want to go slow, just know that every second you waste is costing your potential by $2,400.
Mm.
So the question is, how many $2,400 do you want to waste?
Mm.
Yeah, I mean, who would walk past a table with $2,400 on it, right?
Right. I mean, like, it takes 2 seconds to walk by the table,
Uh-huh.
so you just wasted $5,000,
Mm.
right? Just by thinking about walking by the table.
Right.
As simple as that, as an example.
Yeah, that
So
is fantastic.
so that's what you have to figure out, because the shortest path there, like one of the things I'm writing about in this book, that I wrote about in this book, is about what's the shortest path to get there, right? What's the energetically,
Mm.
from financial chakras perspective, from a balancing perspective, what's the shortest path? And I found out I figured out a flow, a shortest path to get there. And all human beings who are ultra successful have followed the same path. There is no other path. There's only one possibility that leads to ultimate blissful state. You can make money in several ways, but I'm talking about making money and being blissful. It's actually only one path. I found.
So when is the book coming out?
It was scheduled to be in April. I think it's going to be May.
Okay.
I'm close, really close. I just have like few more things to put in there to make sure it's complete. You know,
All right.
we just have like few more things. Otherwise, it's done actually, and it's a tribute to my grandfather. I'm tributing the work inside of the book and the programs that are coming behind it is actually tributed to my grandfather. And and I am pre-selling. So if those of you are interested, just contact me, and I'll be happy to let you know how to get it.
So Ash, I'm seeing a lot of people, kind of logging in, and and some of these people I know, and I know that people now are thinking about trying to start business ventures, or they have business ventures already going, and it's not moving as fast as they'd like it to move. And then now we have the current situation, and now, again, whether a person's looking at the situation as the glass is half full or half empty, many are thinking it's half empty. What type of advice do you have for these folks that are either thinking about getting something started or have something started and it's not moving, as fast, or things are not, taking off like they'd like?
Yeah, so those of you who are working and looking about, really thinking about starting a business, I mean, like if you are really in the mindset of having somebody else take care of you, right? Let's just get real. Nobody's going to take care of you. It's just going to be you who's going to take care of you. So realize, coming here with 20 bucks and no English, think of yourself as as a journey, right? So if you really stop and think about it, so if you don't have a business, start one like yesterday, right? Just hold your shingle up and say, I'm in business. It doesn't have to be registered. You don't have to have an LLC. Nobody really cares if you have an LLC. You just need to start a business, period. Right? So like I'll give you so that's because owning a business has so many advantages. Home-based business, you can take lots of tax write-offs. You can do like I used to I drove a Toyota Camry, and I drove 325,000 miles on it. Okay, so I finally got rid of it, and I got $1,500 for it, even after all those miles. Right now, if you stop and think about it, I took tax deduction on all of that, and let's just say I got a lot of money back in taxes. So you can't do that if you're like it's the economies of the world is not built to like, of course, if you have a good job and you love it, my hats off to you, no problem, right? But if you are looking for other opportunities, other things to do, and want to start a business, start it like yesterday. My highest recommendation, because I will tell you firsthand. I mean, I have a lot of family members who I don't think I know. Okay, some parts of my family own some businesses and have enjoyed, and other parts of my family who has not had a business, and they don't really know what that's like. And honestly, I mean, if you really like going out and meeting people and making a difference in the world, business is the way to go. Now, those of you who have started the business and really just trying to get it going, right, my friends, start wherever you are. Start there. Wherever you are, go hard there, like wherever you are. Okay, you don't need to spend a lot of money to do things. You don't need to like go fancy on anything. Just start wherever you are and go hard at it, because that's the only way you're going to figure out what are some of the mistakes that you need to correct fast. What are some of the things you are not good at? What are some of the things you are good at? Right? Like in my team, I brought on 2 team members as of this week, and I'm not good at those things. Right? So in terms of like when somebody comes to me and says, a lot of my clients came to me and say, I want this or I need that, and it just turned out to be this particular item that they were looking for. Would not have thought about that they need this. I just thought about what I thought I could offer, but it turned into, because I went really fast, right, I figured out, oh, this is actually what they need. Let me just deliver this. Right now, I'm not good at it. Like that particular the skill set is not my thing, but I figured out a way to deliver that, and now clients are all like they're just going gangbusters. And that's why one of the reasons my business is really, listen, right? When you go hard, listen, because your clients are telling you, giving you clues as to what you should be doing and what you should not be doing. I think that's an important. Most people don't stop and listen. They just want to do their thing. They want to own. They want to run their business and they want to sell their stuff, and they're such in a desperation mode. I think that if you get out of the desperation mode and go take 2 steps back to go 4 steps forward, it'll be much better for you. So I would say that those of you who are in business, do it that way. Those of you who are not in business, jump in. Like there's no better time than right now. No better time. And don't worry about everything. Like you're gonna go through this, everything that I went through, right? The no's, the people laughing at you, and people telling you can't make it, people making fun of you when you're failing exams, like I was failing exams, right? People telling you, did you make any money? You may not make any money, but the thing is, it's gonna give you character. Initial stage of the game is so important to build that up, and it will give you that little oomph that you need, that even if you make $1, if you can make $1, you can make two. If you can make two, you can make four, right? So the thing is, just start and don't hesitate, because I know so many businesses you can start with zero. Heck, for that matter, you can own franchises online. Did you know that you can actually buy online businesses? They're actually brokerage houses. You can buy for a few $100s and start making recurring revenue. Literally, just click a button, and you can start making money. It's that's ridiculous. Like with all the technology right now, yeah, there's no reason for you not to make money. But I would say, yeah, start the business now. Don't wait.
That's great advice. But I think it goes back to what we were talking about earlier about mindset and how if you're in panic mode and you're thinking the sky is falling, you're not going to be looking for the opportunities.
No.
You're waving the white flag and putting your head in the sand, and you're missing all these things that Ash is saying they're out there.
So how ridiculous is it? Like if you would have put away money, I'm just kind of giving you a simple example. 2 weeks ago, if you had put away, let's say $1,000, I'm just making a small number, right? Or whatever number you put away. Did you know that if you took that extra money, wherever it was, if you had some, and you put it away, did you know that you would have made almost 30% rate of return in last 2 weeks? So there are actually people that I know who put away millions and made so much money in last 3 weeks, 2-3 weeks, right? But here everybody else is saying you can't make money right now, but that person made a lot of money, right? I know somebody who made $500,000, right? So how does that work? It doesn't add up. 1 + 1 is not 2, right? 1 + 1 is 11. Right? So that's how the math works.
Yeah.
There you go.
If you know how to do 1 + 1 is 11, you can make it work.
So yeah, you've been really sharing a lot of great information. Your story is inspirational.
Yeah.
How can people connect with you?
So they can connect with me via Facebook. I'm on Facebook, Ash Shukla, look me up. I have a business page and a personal page, so I have both of them. They can, find me on pretty much any platform. If you just Google me, my name, Ash Shukla or Ashish Cash, either one, you'll find me. Okay. You'll find me on YouTube. You'll find me pretty much everywhere. If you go to my website, you can connect with me there. You can text me if you want to. You can message me. 410-493-3358. If you want to text me, you can text me. I don't have a problem with that. If you go to my site, you'll find all my information. So it's ashiscash.com or ashshukla.com. Either whichever one you remember, doesn't really matter. But just if you go to my site, you can find me. It's not hard. I'm easily I'm foundable.
Ash is cash.
Foundability is really key.
Yeah.
So it's good that you're foundable.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah. And what I like to do, Eric, is I like to offer those of you who are interested, like maybe I can do like a live Zoom Q&A with some of your listeners at no charge. Just you figure out a day or whatever, and I'm happy to do one. we can do a Q&A about what their businesses are, or if they're looking to get started, or whatever that may be. It's on me. I'll be happy to come on Zoom and just answer any of their questions, concerns, whatever they have. No strings attached. Just it's a friendly conversation.
I definitely think I think that would be great. We appreciate you offering that, because people have a lot of time right now. So this is the time to make the most of this time, and that type of Q&A will be very, very helpful to a lot of our viewers and listeners.
Yeah, and if you want to get, like, however you guys want to put that together, I'll be happy to participate in that and help you guys out and help your tribe out, right? And it's anything that I can do to help. I've been blessed in many ways, and I just want to give back.
Oh, appreciate that. That's great.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Okay, so we're about to go around the horn, and this is the part of the show where we each leave that parting thought, that closing thought with the good people. So Ash, we'll start with you. What is that final thought based off of the flow of our conversation that you want people to remember?
So my parting thought is that, first of all, my prayers to you and your family. I think that is important, that I recognize that some of you might be suffering, or some of you might have family members who are suffering right now, health wise, even financially. And it's my prayers to you and them that they get well soon, and you guys do better, in every way, right? My thought is that I really think that you should believe in yourself, right? Have faith in yourself, not what other people are telling you. Have faith in yourself. Every single day, do yourself a favor, and whether you believe in affirmations, whether you believe in prayers, whether you believe in something else, whatever that you believe in, right? Spirituality, do those things, right? So my parting thought is, be who you are, find who you are, run with who you are, love yourself. Like the other day, my wife is like, "You're really full of yourself." I said, "Yes, I just ate, I'm full, and I'm of myself. I am full of myself." I agree, 100% agree. And so at the end of the day, like, really enjoy who you are. Love yourself, right? Give yourself a hug. Learn to kiss your brain. Like, really learn to kiss your brain. I've given this task to some people, and they still cannot figure it out. So my challenge to those of you who are here is to show me how you kiss your brain. I really would love to know, how do you kiss your brain? You figure it out, okay? I want you to figure out, how do you kiss your brain, and I want you to write on Eric's wall, how do you take a picture of yourself, and I would love to see you kiss your brain. I want to see if you can reach to your brain, and I would love to see some fun comment on that. But my parting thought is that you should really, really learn to enjoy what you're doing, love what you're doing, and really just go for it. Don't think about it. Just go for it. It is a absolutely crucial thing. Most people, they wait in the sidelines, they want to go for it, and they don't, and they're like almost going for it, they're almost going for it, right? And stop being a clunky car. I used to drive a car, Oldsmobile Supreme Cutlass, and I would have to give the accelerator and the brake at the same time, and in a certain amount, for it to start, like, going. If I gave it too much accelerator, it would stop. If I give too little accelerator, it would stop. And it didn't have any locks on the door, and it did not need any keys to start. Like, it was a really unique car. And I think most people are like that clunky car. They want to go, but they don't, right? They want to go, but they don't. And I think it is important that you take the step and just push the pedal and go, wherever you want to go. Do some prayers, thank God for the opportunity, and run with it as fast as you can, and figure out your flow, whatever that is. And with that in mind, my prayers to you and your family. Hope everybody's well. And I just want to tell you, I love all of you, and I really want to serve you.
Thank you. Okay, Ted. Yeah, come back and follow, Ted.
Really, Eric. How am I gonna follow that? So for me, this has just been a very inspirational, motivational session. I would say probably one of the best ones. We've had a lot of great guests, but this is definitely a very memorable one because of because of your story, right? You can coming into the country, $20 and then able to come in and get businesses started and be successful and just the way that you shared with our listeners and viewers, some of the concepts that you talked about simplicity drives more business, right? And then, get your flow. I mean, this is not some real technical Harvard Business School stuff that you're giving us. You're giving us some real straight talk, which is why I think your book, even though it may have had some grammar and spelling issues, it really could really speak to the everyday person and make it, very, understandable. And I just appreciate everything that you've shared. And again, just if I didn't have a business, or if I hadn't been in business for the past 20 years, I'd be starting a business right now because everything that you said, could would make anyone that hears you speak say, I can definitely do that. So I like to, just wish you more and more success and appreciate you joining us, and as well as this Q&A session that we will be setting up, because I definitely think that would be a great benefit to our listeners. So thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, I agree as well. I think the Q&A is a great idea, and we'll certainly partner about how we're going to make that happen. But so my parting shot, Ash, as I look at your story and some of the things you shared, I see this pattern of persistence. I mean, just even, starting with $20 in your pocket, not being able to understand English. And even when you were talking about you took that test 8 times. I mean, the typical person on failure number 5 is saying, you know what, maybe this isn't for me. Maybe I need to pursue another direction. But no, you stuck with it. And I think that's why one of the reasons why you're having the success that you're having is because you just have that drive and that persistence. And I think that's a lesson for all of us.
Absolutely.
Because you can't really go hard unless you understand that failure is a part of the process.
Right.
You can't let it stop you. You just have to keep moving. And I mean, we look at anybody that's reached a certain level of success, they've had all kinds of rejections that they've had to deal with and overcome. So I commend you for that. And just, we all need to demonstrate that pattern of persistence. We want to get to that next level.
One other thing that Ash, I think, mentioned was just the whole thing around his journey. And I had a friend say to me years ago on a time that I was frustrated in business. And he said, like everyone's journey is their own journey, right? Like we see the Bill Gates and, we see, all these people that have done these things, but we don't know anything about their journey. We don't know how many times they failed. We don't know how many exams they may have failed and disappointments that it took to get to that place. I mean, you think about greats like Michael Jordan, and it said that he didn't make a high school basketball team, and now he's one of the greatest of all time. So we look at the success of others, but then we don't really know about their journey. And it's the one thing I got out of this is just no matter what, you just keep going until you get it figured out and fail fast is what it sounds like, and get back up. I think that's definitely something that's gonna help some folks.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and I want to just take this time and tell you both, thank you so much for taking this time to really, interview me. I really appreciate that. So, as a thank you, when we are done, I would love to get your addresses at some point, because I want to send you this. These are prayer beads. So one thing in common with all religions is prayer beads. All religious leaders have them, right? So I get these prayer beads from there's the largest temple in the world being built in Robbinsville, New Jersey. So I get a certain amount of beads, and basically they're being prayed on. They're blessed by some of the priests over there, and I would love to send them to you guys. And part of the reasoning prayer beads, significance of prayer beads, is that back in India, there was a guy who was really poor, and he's like, I need to do something. One day he rubs a lamp and gets a genie, and the genie said, only one condition: I will give you whatever you want, but you have to keep asking for whatever it is that you want. So you have to. So guy asked for house, the cars, the whatever else, and he asked for the universe. So he gets all the worldly possessions that he can possibly imagine. So genie says, now what else do you want? So because genie is like, you got it, you got it, you got it, you got it, right? And the guy's like, I don't have anything else to ask you. I got everything I want. Now what, So he goes up into Mount Everest, in terms of Himalaya mountains, and then he says, well, he goes to this rishi, the wise man, right? And this wise man, he goes to this wise man and says, hey, there's this genie outside, and so he goes in this cave and he asks this wise man, and he says, there's this genie outside. He's asking me to ask for more things, but I have nothing more to ask, because one of my conditions was to keep asking for more things. And the rishi, the wise man says, go outside and tell genie to take 108-foot bamboo pole, stick it under the ground, and take another 108-foot bamboo pole, stick it above the ground. And his job is to go up and down that bamboo pole for the rest of his life. And so he says, okay, I'll do that. So he goes outside to genie and he tells that. Now the irony of the story was, what is genie? That's something we have to think about. What is that genie? And that genie is your mind. And it takes, it's scientifically proven by Vedic science in 2000 BC, when they created, that's the reason in all of the prayer beads, there are actually, holy prayer beads have 108 beads. That's the significance behind it, because at 108 beads, when you manifest whatever it is, so the way you're supposed to hold them, is like this, right? So you're not supposed to hold them, this finger has to be out, because it's called fire finger. Okay, so because it literally vanishes everything you just asked for. So you do, let's say it's a Jesus, 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 whatever god you want to pray to. You can pray to a particular manifestation of a goal, right? It's a great meditation tool. That's why all the priests all across the world, no matter what religion, they have one common theme, and they all have prayer beads. So what happens is, when you do this one time around, and you go around one time, so this is your guru bead. Guru means your your guru, right? Your avatar that you believe in, right? Or whatever that you may believe. So once you come up here and you flip it over, and then you do it again like this, right? So when you're doing this prayer beads, first time you go around, your mind will begin to calm down. Second time you do it, your mind will become at a neutral state. So just like driving a car, you need to get it in a neutral state. So if you are having hard time when you're meditating and you cannot get it to a neutral state, it's a great tool. You do this 5 times and you ask for whatever it is that you want, you will get to whatever it is that you want to get to faster. And for that matter, if your viewers are watching this and they want to contact me on Facebook or whatever methods they want to contact me on, I'll show you how I'll give you, these beads, and I'm going to personally send them to you, and I'll show you how to get them. Okay, so for those who are interested, it helps you with eliminating fear. It helps you overcome anxiety. It helps you overcome, like a lot of your goals that you want to reach, whatever it is. But both of you guys, I want to send them to you. And it's my compliment. I want to say thank you to both of you.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. And these are not, you cannot buy these particular beads on Alibaba or Amazon. You have to get them from me, because I actually go to the temple, and I went them a while back, so it was pre COVID-19. I promise you, they are not COVID infected. Okay, so but that being said, I got them a while back, so I get them in big boxes. So I got them a long time ago. So, but
thank you for that.
You are welcome. I want to send them to you guys, and I want to say thank you for what you guys do and the difference you guys make. For those who are watching and they are following you, I mean, I would highly recommend them to share your show with their friends and the people that they know, because it's not easy to put on these shows. It takes time and effort and energy to do this. So
yes, it does. Thank you.
You're so welcome. we're sorted.
Man, if we weren't socially distancing, man, I feel like I just want to come give you a hug, man. It
I would.
Got me feeling all warm inside, man.
I would do the same thing. I would do the same thing.
Absolutely.
But you could be a fish for tonight.
I'm not doing the fish for the night.
You see, you're not feeling that warm. You're feeling warm and fuzzy, but not that warm. Okay.
So for everybody, one of our followers says to stay away from the face. So
stay away from the face.
Maybe she's referring to me.
Our face, so
she said stay away from the face. I guess it's the fish face. She's telling me to stay away from the fish face. So
stay away from the fish face.
All right.
She needs to learn how to have fun.
Oh man. So this is not your everyday podcast. Again, you can visit us, go to the 30minutehour.net and see the archive of all of our previous episodes in different formats. You can go right back here to this Facebook page, the 30 Minute Hour Facebook page, and see a replay of this interview we just did with Ash. But until next time, have a great one.
Hey, Eric, you might want to give them one more update about the show on Wednesday for those that just joined us.
For those that just joined us, we've got the 30 Minute Hour live on lockdown. That's going to be this coming Wednesday, live at 6:00 p.m. on our Facebook page. So make sure you come back and check us out. Be prepared to laugh. And who knows, maybe on that show we can do the fish face. What do you think, Ted?
Maybe we have Ash on there and let Ash do the fish face. Ash will be the official fish face representative of the 30 Minute Hour.
We'll just have him pop in, do the face. There you go. Give the people what they want. There you go.
That's it.
Absolutely.
All right.
Well, thank you so much, guys. I really appreciate you. Okay.
All right. We appreciate you as well. And for everyone else, have a great one. We'll see you Wednesday.
Okay. See you guys.
All right.